Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and today we're going to be looking at the Huawei Watch GT5 Pro. So Huawei might not be a brand. I'm probably not pronouncing it right. Apologies for that. It's quite hard to pronounce. So if I'm getting it wrong, I'm really sorry about that. It's probably not a brand you recognise in the UK at the moment. Or some people will, some people won't. So essentially, they are a Chinese brand trying to get into the UK market and European market, and they've obviously had problems with their telecommunications equipment in the past, to pull it all out of the UK. But they produce some fantastic consumer products, like they produce great phones, which you can't get in the UK yet, fully, properly, but hopefully soon, and laptops and smartwatches and various other tech devices, which I all think are great so far. So I've tried the GT5 Pro now for a full month, more or less, which is longer than I thought it was going to be, but it's great. And I wanted to give you my sort of full long-term, well, it's not long-term, but 1 month review on this product. So I didn't want to do an initial review on it because I think a watch needs a good workout before you can do a review on it, because you need to try all the features out and everything like that. So let's get into this and find out how much I paid for this watch. I paid about $2,329 for this watch. That's the list price on the watch. I think I got a pair of earbuds included with it, which was the FreeBuds 5i, and they are noise cancelling and high res audio, and they're really good. So I'll drop a review about those later on because they are worth mentioning, as they do offer really good performance for the money. So the watch is very much aimed at the fitness market, especially golfers. It's very much competing with Garmin and the Apple Watch, but more so the Garmin side of things, because I think Apple Watch has a very unique market, obviously for Apple users, whereas the Huawei watches and the Garmin watches are multi-platform compatible, so I have to sort of appeal to everyone. But we'll get into that in the review, and let's first of all go over the design of the watch and my thoughts on that. So when you first unbox the Huawei GT5 Pro, which I will show you some footage of on this video, the first thing you notice about this watch is the quality of the design and the build. So it feels really light, but really strong at the same time. Obviously, when you unbox an Apple Watch, you get the same feeling, but the materials are totally different what this is made out of. So if you look at the Apple Watch Series 10, for example, that starts off at, I think the base price is about just under £400, sorry. And for that, you get the small 42mm screen, an aluminium case, the Xeon X glass, which is not very good in terms of scratch resistance, and you get all the full features on it, just a smaller screen. So think about this. This is 329. This is made from fully titanium design, so the same as the Watch Ultra. It has a beautiful 46mm chassis with a OLED screen, which is high resolution. It has a nice ceramic digital crown on the side here, and a button at the bottom to access the sports features. So it's very much geared towards the sports market, but it looks really good. I think the design of the watch is beautiful. I think it looks great, and it can change the straps on it easily by just clicking them off at the back, just like the Apple Watch and the Garmin's and the Pixel watches as well. So I'm a big fan of the circular design. Well, it's more hexagonal on the GT5 Pro, but the Apple Watch Square design has never really been for me. I'm not going to say I'm not an Apple Watch lover, because I do love them. I've had every single watch since Series 2, so I do love them, and I've had the Ultra 2 as well, and I did like that watch, which I did sell in the end and go back to the Android route, which is another story. But I particularly like the design of the Huawei GT5 Pro, and I think it looks very much like the Garmin lineup in a lot of ways. So as mentioned, it's a full OLED screen, and I think it looks it looks as good as any screen on there, any smartwatch I've seen, if not better. So it's better than the Pixel Watch screen, for example. I had a Pixel Watch 2 before I had this, and this screen is much better. It's much brighter outside. It's just higher resolution. It's scrolling through the menus, feels really snappy, and it just feels a lot quicker. So Huawei use their own sort of software and everything on this, which we'll get into later, and it does have some advantages and some disadvantages. They also put their own processors in it, which is again is advantages and disadvantages. But at the moment, let's delve into this design in more detail. So, for example, the screen is sapphire glass. So I know there was completely different grades of sapphire on the market. So, for example, I had an Apple Watch Series 6 with sapphire screen, and that's scratched. So I delved into it in more detail and found that Apple were using subpar standards on some sapphire watches. So it did actually scratch, which true sapphire, like on a Rolex, shouldn't. So far, after a month's use, I've had no scratches, no damage on this watch whatsoever, so it feels really durable and really premium. So to me, the screen seems fine, and I've not put a case on it or any protector or anything like that. It's just been wearing out and about, using it every day, and not had any problems with it at all. So the watch comes in 46 or 42mm in various different colours. Have a look on the website. Some of the colour options are great. The 42mm is more geared towards design, rather than the larger ones more geared towards sports. So it depends what you want, but it's nice to have the option of both. So we've got the rotating crown here, which enables you to access the menu and move around the watch, just like the Apple Watch. It works very similar to the Apple Watch, the Garmin, and the Pixel Watch in every way. So if you've used any of them, you'll know how it works. So now let's move on to how this watch performs in the everyday world and real world use, and also the specifications inside the watch. So as mentioned, the GT5 Pro more than lives up to the standards of the build quality. I think it is a really pro watch, so it can definitely compete with the Watch Ultra for half the money. So you look at half the money on this watch compared to an Apple Watch Ultra. So an Apple Watch Ultra is about £700 or £800, and this is 329. So the difference in price is astonishing, and you get the same build and the same materials. Yes, it doesn't have Apple Watch OS. It doesn't work as well, maybe, as some of the features on it as the Apple Watch would do, but it has some great health features, which we'll get into in a minute, which I think are better than the Apple's, for example, because Huawei have put a lot of development into their health features. They've employed doctors from all over the world to help them with their health systems. And if you look, they've got a whole center in China set up to making the best health features on their watches. So, for example, the watch is definitely aimed towards the golf course market. That's how it's heavily marketed towards them, golfers, and it can hold 3,000 golf maps in the UK. So that's quite incredible for the size of the watch. And it can show you all the fairways, bunkers, and also the waterways in the watch on the course, so you know where you can go. Here, I'm not a golfer, I don't golf, but I'm going to try and do as best I can for some people who might be using it for that. It has a driving range mode as well, so you can keep track of your performance on the driving range, which I think is really nice. It's a unique feature I've not seen on the other watches. The Apple Watch may have it. I don't know. I'm not a golfer. Haven't used it. So I think one big selling point of this watch, though, in terms of its specifications, is that it's cross-compatible, like the Garmin's, with iOS and Android. So you just download the Huawei Health app, and it easily sets up the watch. And this watch sets up within 5 minutes, and sometimes the Apple Watch takes a good 2 or 5, 10 minutes to sync. So for me, this setup was so much easier than the Apple Watch or the Pixel watches. The battery life is quoted at 2 weeks, but that is with everything on full power save mode. And when you do, I tested it out, and I did get nearly 2 weeks out of it on the full power save mode. So you have to turn off the always on display, which is turned off by default anyway. If you turn the always on display on, it knocks it down to 7 days. So it depends what you're doing with the watch. If you're out and about in the wild somewhere, then yes, put it on power save mode. You've got full 14 days use on it before you need to charge it. If you're just using it around the house or out and about, you know you're going to be able to charge it, then turn on the always on display, because it works really well. It's really nice. There's a great app gallery on the system with the face. We can download plenty of different watch faces. It comes with loads to choose from, and there's loads of seasonal ones as well, which is nice. One thing about Apple tightly control their watch faces, so you can't really change it, which is annoying. But this is really easy to do on the watch, and really nice that you can change it to different faces where you want. So it has a 466 by 466 pixel display, so it's 326 ppi, which is about the same. It's really nice as a sharp display. I've had no problems with it outside. It's only up to 1,000 nits, so it's not as highly. So the Apple Watch Ultra goes up to 3,000 nits, for example. It's not the same as that, but I used it outdoor in the bright winter sunshine, had no problems with it. So for me, it worked really well. It can do all the main features like the Garmin, the Apple do can do, so like ECG, blood monitoring, in terms of like you can monitor your arterial pressure inside, which tells you about your arterial health, which is quite interesting. It can monitor your the altimeter, just like the Apple Watch can, and your skin temperature, which the skin temperature actually worked on this. I could never get it to work on the Apple Watch, but it worked perfectly on this, and it told me that my nighttime temperature and oxygen saturation were all good, which was great. The watch charges really quickly. It comes with a USB-A charger, which is a little bit strange in these days. It's not USB-C, but it seems to charge really fast, so I had no complaints there. It just clips on the back like the Apple Watch. The speaker and microphone were very good quality. I had no problems making calls on it, and the Bluetooth connection was rock solid. So the only complaint I had here really about the fact, so it runs Huawei's own operating system and their own chip, which is great. It's a great software. It's a great chip. It's really fast to use. But the main problem with it is that you can't install like WhatsApp on it. So Wear OS, which Google use on their watches and Oppo use on theirs, and a lot of Android users use them on there, means you can install all the Wear OS apps like WhatsApp, for example, and you can then open WhatsApp messages and reply to them as and when you need to, which is great. I love that feature. You can't do that on this one yet. It doesn't support any form of payment method either, which is the Google Pixel and the Apple Watch do. So at the moment, it's got nothing on it. It's got the option on the app. It just says not available in the UK yet. So I'm hoping that Huawei will bring it to the UK soon. It's probably something to do with the fact that banks don't want to transfer information to Huawei. Like we've had some problems with it, so it may never come to the UK. I don't know, but it's a feature I do miss because I used to use my watch to make payments quite a lot. So they're the two main things that I've seen missing from this watch. And if you can live without them, fine, and you get a great watch, a great value for money. So I think the price reflects that you don't always get everything. It does have an NFC chip built in, so it should eventually come, hopefully, but it may not. So now let's move on to connectivity on this watch and how I found it when I was out and about using it. So there's no cellular option here at all. It's just a Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connection, which, to be honest, I haven't missed. So I've had cellular on my past few watches, and I think after having it on so many of these watches, I've kind of thought it's a bit of a gimmick maybe because I don't really use it without my phone, and you pay extra for it with your tariff. So I pay £10 extra for it, so we've taken it off my tariff now because I just don't use it. I had it on the Pixel Watch too, and it just drains the battery too fast. So I don't miss it, and I don't think it's something that you should not buy this for. It has the latest GPS technology connectivity, so when I was out walking with it, I had no problems with connectivity. It found the GPS signal really fast whether I had my phone on me or not, because it can be used independent of the phone with music and a pair of headphones. It just won't let you make or receive calls, so it just works on the side of things on the GPS. And I mentioned the Bluetooth was rock solid to the phone all the way through the testing process, so that was absolutely fine. The keyboard on it was a bit buggy, so when I replied to messages, if I opened it up, I had a really nice keyboard, but it was really slow to respond, so I ended up typing the wrong message a few times. You can speak to it as well, like work better, like the Apple Watch, but I've got used to the Apple Watch keyboard now, and also the Pixel Watch had a decent keyboard on it as well, so it just wasn't as good. So the keyboard on it is not quite up to the same standard, but hopefully that's just a software thing and Huawei will change that in the future. As we've mentioned, all the Huawei Pay and everything doesn't work, but hopefully it'll be there in the future. And the software is a little bit the actual main software is fine in navigating around the watch. It's just the you can't install some of the most Wear OS apps on it, which is the main problem for me. Right, so let's wrap this up because I think we've been over everything and I can't think of anything else to talk to you about on this. But so my final thoughts are that this is actually a great watch. It's great value for money. I got a pair of free earbuds with it, with the 5 which are worth 90 quid. They do a GT5, the non-pro version, which I will try and have a look at later on, which get a few less features, and that's about £299. So really good value for money. It is the main competitor, I'd say, is the Garmin lineup. So if you're looking at between this and the Garmin, don't be frightened because it's got the Huawei name on it. You've not heard of them. They offer a good 2-year, 3-year warranty on it. It feels like it's even got a Huawei's armor shield on it, which means it's not meant to get damaged. And I've had no damage on this at all, which is unusual for me. So I often scratch and damage watches within the first week. So this is nice to say that it's really good for the fact I really like the long battery life. So I could wear it in bed, not having to charge it up, and it was the best. I think this is the best watch I've used for sleep tracking. It has so much data on it. It tells me my blood oxygen temperature and the skin temperature, but it didn't need a few nights to get used to it. It just pulled the data straight away, showed it me on the app, really easy to use. And the altimeter would be useful if you're doing mountain climbing, anything like that. And it's got a great app on it. So when you do the sports mode on it, it shows you the altitude, it shows you loads of detail, you can customize it. So I think as a sports watch for someone who's out and about every day doing sports, rock climbing, mountaineering, I'd highly recommend this watch because it's really, really light and it has some great features and a good battery life. So consider it over the Apple Watch 2. Apple Watch Ultra. The Apple Watch Ultra, in my mind, is not a true extreme sports watch because the battery life just isn't good enough. If you're out and about on a mountain somewhere, 36 hours is not going to be enough. So you need to look at something like a Garmin or this because it's got a longer battery life. So do consider it. Save yourself a bit of cash. Try it out. It's worth it. They've got a 14-day return policy if you don't like it anyway. So just try it out and give Huawei a chance, because I think they've made an excellent watch here that should be considered over the Garmin. So thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the review, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. It means the world. Thanks a lot.